Hello all, we've got Nigel with us again and we're at his garden and we're going to do a little update from his, with his apples, his grapevines and anything else that catches our eye. Okay Nigel?
Okay, thanks Julie. Well, it's now, what is it, August the 9th. The apple season is proceeding slowly. We're about 3 weeks later for ripening than we were last year. So very few varieties are actually ready yet. We've got one though that is now ripe, and that's a very tiny apple called Leicestershire Sweetings, which you can see if I part the branches here, this little tree here.
Oh yeah.
And if you see my hand and how small the apples are in comparison, that is the size of that particular variety.
Yeah, and for those of you who can't get an idea on that, they are 32mm.
Yeah, they're about
inch and a quarter.
Yeah, about the same size as a golf ball.
Yeah.
Perhaps a little bit smaller. But they used to be quite a popular variety in Leicestershire 60 or 70 years ago. And that's the first time that little tree has fruited. We found it was a lost variety, but we found an old tree in Long Clawson in the north of the county, and we grafted that tree, well, I think it's almost 5 years ago. It was very reluctant to grow because the scion wood, the cutting, was so gnarled and ancient, but eventually it started to grow and we're delighted that we've got a bit of fruit. It's very, very sweet. It's best eaten just before it gets ripe, because if you wait for full ripeness it goes mushy.
Okay.
And it tastes a little bit like nothing, but if you get it just while the pips are still white, it is a very nice, sweet, refreshing type of apple.
Lovely. And I can see you've got quite a collection of 2-year seedlings here. Most of these will probably hopefully fruit in a couple of years, is that right?
That's what we're hoping for,
yeah.
Yes. You can see that this is part of our apple breeding project, and you can see that we've been crossing red-fleshed apples with ordinary English apples, and we're getting a spectacular variation of colour in the leaves. And we think there is going to be a similar variation in the colours of the fruit.
Yeah, what I was going to say is, does the colour of the leaf, does the red colour, would that signify a red apple?
Yes, if it's a red leaf, it's virtually certain to be a red skin.
Right.
And it may be red flesh as well.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, yeah.
So we all learn something every day, don't we?
We've got a few more common apples here. This one is, let's just have a look at the label. I think this one is Rosette. That's right, yeah, this is Rosette. This is from Frank Matthews' nursery. Not ready yet, unfortunately. Usually it's ready about this time of year, but it's actually a sport of discovery. A sport.
What's that mean?
That means occasionally when you get an apple tree, you get a single branch that undergoes a mutation, and the fruit from it changes, and so do the leaves slightly. And this fruit is a bit like discovery, but it's not as tart, and instead of having white flesh, it's actually got red flesh, and that's one of the reasons it's proved to be so popular. So Rosette is one of the, well, I think it's one of the best apples that I've tasted from a commercial nursery. So
right.
Frank Matthews sells this, and it's excellent. Now, what else can we look at?
Oh, look at the grapes there. Well, tell us a little bit about this grapevine. How long has this been in?
That's been in about 5 years. You can see
5 years.
Yeah, it's quite a vigorous grape.
Oh, just look at those grapes.
Yeah, it didn't have very much last year. It's an outdoor grape, so it doesn't like being in a greenhouse. It's a black grape. The variety name is Alicante Boucher, and it's
Is that French?
Yeah, and it comes from the Champagne region of France, but it's not used to make champagne. It's used to make, so I'm told, grape juice.
Right.
And it's quite nice because it's red juice, whereas when you're making a red wine, if you want to get the colour into a red wine, the usual way is to leave the skins in. And the alcoholics actually extracts the colour from the skins. Now this particular grape, when you squeeze it, the juice itself is red.
Okay.
So it's quite good to make red grape concentrate, because you don't need to wait for it to ferment. It's red to start with.
Right.
And it does make a good wine too, which is why I grow it.
Okay. Now, Nigel's garden is a combination of fruit trees, apple trees I should say, and perennials, and then he's got, you can't really see in here, it's all going over, but he's got raspberries. So it's a combination of everything. Oh, just look at this. Tell us about this one here.
Oh yes, now that's Malus Geneva. I'm not sure whether it's a Swiss apple or a German apple, but it was sent to me by a person in Belgium.
Oop, gone the wrong way.
And that's a red-fleshed apple, and I'm really fascinated that it's got so much fruit on, because I only grafted it just over a year ago, and it's got about 20 apples on it on a single stem, so it looks as though it's a really healthy sort of variety. So that should make a really good parent. What else have we got here? This is a mixed apple tree with lots of varieties on it. Not very much to see at the moment, because they haven't started to colour up yet. This is a variety I rescued from a friend's mother's garden. His mother died, and there was a very old tree, and he didn't know what it was, so I grafted a bit onto this tree, and one day I think he will ask me to give him a new tree that he can have in his present house. So that's the only reason I've got that.
Now remember this round tree what Nigel's told us about when the trees were all in blossom? Well, just look now. You can see we've got some green apples on the left here. We've got some red ones here. And all different varieties.
Yes, we've got 4 different varieties here. This is the earliest one. It's not quite ready, but this is Devonshire Quarrenden. It's quite a nice eating apple. But I tried one the other day, and they're still a little bit too tart. This is the parent of an apple that you might have heard of called Worcester Pomain.
Okay.
And that's used to be a well-known early apple, but I think the only people that see
I only know is it the Worcester where it's brown skin? Or
yeah.
Nice? Yeah.
That's the one. That's the one, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Worcester Pomain used to be quite a popular commercial apple, but I think the only store that sells it now is Waitrose.
Right.
And it's quite a difficult one to market because it goes over so quickly. You know, you pick it, and after 3 or 4 days it's not really worth eating. So you have to get it really fresh.
Right. And just look at I should say that some of the flowers have gone over now. This was looking absolutely spectacular the other week. But we've still got lots of colour here.
Yeah, we've got
just look at that.
Yeah, we've got some nice hollyhocks.
Hollyhocks, beautiful.
Pleased with those tall ones.
And they obviously grow in places where you don't set them. I have the same thing happen at home. But this particular one here has caught my eye. And I do like this one here.
Yes, it's a beautiful colour.
Yeah.
But like most of my best hollyhocks, it's growing from a crack between 2 slabs.
Yeah, self-setter.
Yeah, you know, you put them in a particular place and they don't like it, and the next year you find that new plants have appeared where they're sort of anchored in a crevice somewhere.
Yeah.
And that seems to be what they like to do. Oh no, this is an interesting one. This apple here we found in the middle of the dual carriageway near to Sutton in the Elms, and it's a tiny apple which has a honey flavour, and it ripens quite late. It's just starting to colour up. The ones here are a little bit better colour.
Yeah.
But that's a quite delicious apple, and we're making that available at our grafting workshops, which we hold in February.
Right.
So that's a very nice apple.
Right, folks. Now, just look on the side of the house what we've got here. Let me come round and I'll see if I can stand a touch further away because of just look at those. Can you tell me what they are?
The grapevine on the left has just been pruned, and that is the same variety as we saw further back down the garden. This is Alicante Boucher, and it makes
Right.
a lovely red wine. It's quite a difficult vine to prune because it's so vigorous, and if you get the pruning wrong, it doesn't seem to have very much fruit on it. But I seem, by some fluke, to have got it right this year, and it's got plenty on. The other one, I think, is Cheval Blanc, which is a white grape. Again, it's an outdoor variety,
Okay.
and whether you prune that or not, it always seems to have the same quantity of fruit. That vine usually has about 25 pounds weight.
Wow.
Yeah, the one on the left has anything between 10 pounds and 80 pounds, depending on.
Oh my God.
It's more temperamental for
So you like
pollination.
your grapes then?
Oh yeah. That one has late blossom. Now you probably won't know this, but and I didn't know this until I looked it up. And I talked to one or two vine growers. But you don't need bees to pollinate a grapevine.
Okay.
So it's quite safe to stop the frost, and I didn't know this until this year. It's quite safe to put a sheet or a net across the grapevine whilst it's in flower, so that it pollinates properly.
Yeah.
You don't need bees to get in.
Because although you don't need bees to get in, if the frost gets to it, would it do the same as strawberries? It would kill the
That's
blossom.
right. Once you get down to 28 Fahrenheit, you can say goodbye to your grapes for that year.
Right.
Yeah, so you have to stop the frost getting in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Right. Thanks a lot for that tour, Nigel.
Okay.